The black Bentley rolled through the iron gates 3 hours before dawn. Kim Bu-Joon cut the engine and sat in the winter silence, watching his mansion glow against the December darkness. Something felt wrong. The lights in the east wing were on, music drifting faintly through glass. Too much life for a school night when his daughter should be sleeping. He stepped out, his charcoal overcoat catching the bitter wind. Kim was 42, sharp-featured, with the kind of presence that made rooms fall silent. Tonight, though, none of that mattered. Tonight he was just a father with a terrible feeling crawling up his spine. And that's when he heard it through the second-floor window. His daughter's voice, nervous, higher-pitched than usual. "I don't know if I should." Mia's words were cut off by laughter, male, older, and far too comfortable. Kim's vision tunneled. His hand instinctively moved toward the weapon concealed at his side. Every instinct screamed at him to move, to act, to destroy whatever threat existed behind that window. But before he could take another step, trembling fingers grabbed his wrist from the shadows near the garden entrance. "Be quiet," a voice whispered urgently. Kim spun, his free hand already reaching for the woman's throat before his mind registered who she was. Sarah, the housemaid. The quiet black woman who'd worked in his home for 8 months, always present, always invisible in the way good staff were supposed to be. But tonight Sarah wasn't invisible. Tonight her dark eyes were flooded with terror and something else. Determination. "Let go of me," Kim growled, his voice deadly even in a whisper. "Now. Please," Sarah begged, her accent thick with emotion. "Please, Mr. Kim. I know what you're thinking. I know what you want to do. But if you go in there right now, you'll destroy everything. You'll destroy her." Something in her tone made Kim pause. In his world, people didn't grab him. They didn't tell him what to do. They certainly didn't look at him with pity mixed with urgency the way Sarah was looking at him now. "Explain," he commanded. 5 seconds or I go through you." Sarah pulled him deeper into the shadows, away from the house, toward the garden where the decorative hedges created a pocket of darkness. Her hand was still on his arm, and Kim realized with distant surprise that he was letting her keep it there. "Your daughter," Sarah began, her words tumbling out fast and desperate. "She's not doing what you think. She's being manipulated, Mr. Kim. Set up. I've been watching for 3 weeks now, trying to figure out how to tell you, trying to get proof." Kim's jaw clenched. "Manipulated by whom?" "People you trust. People inside your home." Sarah glanced back at the lit window. "They've been grooming her, isolating her. She thinks they're helping her, mentoring her. But there are cameras, Mr. Kim. Hidden cameras. They're recording everything, waiting for the right moment to use it against you." The words hit like physical blows. Kim had survived betrayal before, had learned to expect it from rivals, from enemies. But through his child, using Mia's loneliness, her teenage vulnerability as a weapon? Who? His voice could have cut steel. "I have names. I have evidence. But if you storm in there now, they'll know we're onto them. The footage will disappear. The conspirators will scatter. And Mia," Sarah's voice cracked, "Mia will think you're punishing her for something that isn't her fault. She'll never forgive you. And they'll win anyway." Kim stared at this woman who barely reached his shoulder, who earned perhaps a fraction in a year what he spent on a single dinner, who had absolutely no reason to risk herself for his family. And yet here she was, physically restraining a mafia boss in his own garden, telling him the one thing he desperately didn't want to hear but needed to accept. He needed to be patient. "Show me what you have," he finally said. "All of it." Relief flooded Sarah's face. She released his arm and pulled out her phone with shaking hands. "I started recording 2 weeks ago when I realized what was happening. I've been documenting everything." She pulled up video files, audio recordings, photographs of hidden camera equipment. Kim watched, his expression carved from ice, as the conspiracy against him unfolded in digital evidence. His daughter's math tutor, his sister's husband, even his head of household staff, all involved, all working together to create a scandal that would destroy his reputation, force him into legal trouble, and leave Mia traumatized and blamed. The music from upstairs suddenly stopped. Voices drifted down, more relaxed now, less tense. "They're finishing for tonight," Sarah whispered. "They do this every Wednesday when they know you're supposed to be across town until dawn. 20 more minutes and they'll be gone." Mia will go to bed thinking she just had a study session with people who care about her. Kim looked at his home, his fortress, the place where he should have been able to keep his daughter safe. He'd failed her. Not today, not this week, but for years. Too busy building his empire, too consumed with maintaining power, too absent to notice his teenage daughter drowning in loneliness. "What do you need from me?" he asked Sarah. "Time," she answered simply. "And trust. Let me keep watching. Let me keep recording. They're planning something big, something public. If we're patient, we can catch all of them at once and protect Mia completely." Kim nodded slowly. "You'll report directly to me. Daily. And you'll have protection, though you won't see them." "Thank you, Mr. Kim." "No," he said quietly, looking back at Mia's window. "Thank you. You saved my daughter tonight. Possibly saved me from becoming the monster she'd remember forever." They stood together in the cold, an unlikely alliance born from crisis. Above them, the lights in Mia's room finally went dark. "Stay with me, because what Kim is about to discover will test everything he thought he knew about power, family, and the price of redemption." Sarah arrived at Kim's private study at 2 a.m. the following night, using the entrance code he'd texted her hours earlier. She'd never been in this part of the mansion, this inner sanctum where Kim Bu-Joon conducted the business that kept his empire running. The room suited him. Dark wood, leather, floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with books in Korean, English, and Japanese. A massive desk dominated the space, and behind it sat Kim, looking like he hadn't slept. He probably hadn't. "Show me everything," he said without preamble. "From the beginning." Sarah set her laptop on his desk and sat in the chair he indicated. For the next hour, she walked him through what she'd discovered. How she'd first noticed Mia's change in behavior 6 weeks ago. The teenage girl had gone from withdrawn and sad to artificially animated, talking about her mentors, who understood her better than anyone. Red flags everywhere. Sarah had started paying closer attention. She noticed the math tutor, Mr. Choi, arriving at odd hours. Noticed how Kim's sister's husband, Uncle Dae-young, began making regular visits, always when Kim was away. Noticed how the head housekeeper, Mrs. Park, started sending other staff away during these visits, leaving Mia alone with these trusted adults. Then Sarah found the first camera, hidden in a decorative lamp in Mia's study room, then another in the hallway, a third in the common room where Mia was encouraged to relax and be herself. "I couldn't go to the police," Sarah explained. "I'm here on a work visa. One accusation against your family, even to help you, and I'd be deported before I could finish the sentence. So I documented everything instead." Kim watched footage Sarah had secretly recorded. He saw his daughter, his Mia, who used to climb into his lap and demand bedtime stories, now sitting nervously while Mr. Choi touched her shoulder too long, while Uncle Dae-young made inappropriate comments disguised as jokes, while Mrs. Park encouraged her to dress differently, act differently, explore who you really are. They were grooming her. Slowly, carefully, building her trust while simultaneously isolating her from any real support system. The goal? Kim asked, his voice hollow. "Blackmail initially," Sarah said. "Create compromising situations, record them, threaten exposure unless you cooperate with certain business decisions. But I think it evolved into something worse. They want to destroy you completely. Frame you as a negligent father, possibly complicit in whatever happens to Mia. Ruin your reputation so thoroughly that your organization fractures, and they can seize control." She pulled up financial records she'd photographed from Mrs. Park's office. "They've already opened foreign accounts. They're preparing to run once they execute their plan." "When?" Kim's hands were flat on his desk, the only thing keeping them from shaking with rage. "Your annual family gathering. Christmas Eve. 4 days from now." Sarah met his eyes. "They're going to push Mia into a situation where she can't refuse, record it, then expose everything at the party in front of your entire extended family, your business partners, everyone. The shame, the legal implications, the destruction of your family's reputation would be total." Kim stood abruptly, turning to face the window that overlooked his snow-covered garden. He pressed his forehead against the cold glass. "I did this," he whispered. "I gave them the weapon. I left her alone so much, made her so desperate for attention, for connection, that she became vulnerable to these predators." Sarah stood too carefully. Mr. Kim, you're not the villain here. Yes, Mia needed you more. Yes, you could have been more present. But you didn't manipulate her. You didn't exploit her vulnerability. They did. And now you have a chance to save her. How? He turned back to face her. How do I save her without her knowing how close she came to complete destruction? How do I protect her from the truth? Maybe you don't, Sarah said gently. Maybe she needs to know. But first we stop them. We gather every piece of evidence. We set our own trap. And we make sure that when this is over, Mia is protected, they're punished, and you have a chance to rebuild what was broken. Kim studied this young woman who'd appeared in his life like an avenging angel. Why are you doing this? You could have stayed silent, kept your head down, avoided all of this. Sarah's expression was fierce. Because I have a little sister back in Lagos. She's 14. If someone was doing this to her, I'd pray that someone brave would stand up and protect her. I'm doing for Mia what I'd hope someone would do for my sister. And maybe, her voice softened, maybe because I see how much you actually love her. Even if you've forgotten how to show it. The moment stretched between them, heavy with unspoken understanding. Finally, Kim returned to his desk and pulled out his phone. I'm going to make some calls. People I trust absolutely. We're going to need technical support, legal preparation, and security for you. For me. You think they haven't noticed you watching? Sarah, you're in danger the moment they realize you're a threat. His eyes were hard now, back to the Mafia boss who'd survived countless attempts on his life. You're under my protection now. That's not negotiable. Over the next hour, Kim made careful encrypted calls. His most trusted people began assembling a counterplan. They'd let the conspirators believe their scheme was working. They'd feed false information suggesting Kim would be distracted and vulnerable during the Christmas Eve gathering. And they'd prepare to document everything, turn the trap back on those who'd set it. As Sarah prepared to leave, she paused at the door. Mr. Kim, when this is over, Mia will need therapy. Real help processing this. And she'll need you to be honest with her about your failures as a father. She'll need the real you. Not the powerful man everyone else sees. Kim nodded slowly. I know. And Sarah? Call me Bu-Joon. I think we're past formalities now. She smiled, small and sad. Okay, Bu-Joon. After she left, Kim pulled up a photograph on his phone. Mia at 8 years old, grinning with missing front teeth, holding the trophy from her first piano recital. He'd been there that day. Present, proud, fully focused on his daughter. When had he stopped being that father? If you're invested in this story, hit subscribe now. Because the next chapter is where everything explodes. New Year Eve arrived with fresh snow and crystal clear skies. The Kim family mansion had been transformed into something from a winter fairy tale, glittering with lights and decorations. Caterers moved efficiently through the kitchen. Florists made final adjustments to elaborate arrangements, and security, Kim's real security, checked and double-checked every detail. Sarah wore a wire so sophisticated it was undetectable, courtesy of Kim's technical team. She moved through the preparations like always, invisible, efficient, just another piece of the household machinery. But today, she was the linchpin of everything. Testing, she whispered while arranging champagne flutes in the dining room. Clear, came Kim's voice in her nearly invisible earpiece. We see and hear everything. You're doing great, Sarah. Mia appeared at the top of the grand staircase, and Sarah's heart broke a little. The girl wore a deep blue dress, her hair styled elegantly, looking so much older than her 16 years. But her eyes held uncertainty, the posture of someone who didn't quite trust her own worth. Sarah, Mia called down with a smile that was almost genuine. Do I look okay? Uncle Dae-young said I should make an impression tonight. There it was. The grooming language, the manipulation that had been fed to her for weeks. Look pretty. Make an impression. Be special. You look beautiful, Miss Mia. Sarah called back. Your father will be so proud. Something flickered across Mia's face. Doubt maybe. Or hope. Is he even here? I thought he'd be too busy. He's here, Sarah assured her. He wouldn't miss tonight for anything. It was true. Kim was stationed in his study with Young Ho, his head of security, and 2 other trusted men. They had visual feeds from every room, audio from Sarah's wire, and a digital forensics expert monitoring all the conspirators' devices. The first guests began arriving at 7. Kim's extended family, his business associates, carefully vetted allies from the organization. Everyone in formal wear. Everyone bringing the appropriate gifts and paying the appropriate respects. And among them, playing their roles perfectly, Mr. Choi the tutor, Uncle Dae-young and Mrs. Park, who was orchestrating the household staff with her usual iron efficiency. They had no idea they were walking into their own execution. Phase 1, Kim murmured into his microphone. Sarah, they'll make their move in the next hour. Stay close to Mia. Copy, Sarah whispered, refilling a water pitcher while keeping Mia in her peripheral vision. She watched as Uncle Dae-young approached Mia. All warm smiles and avuncular charm. Your father asked me to bring you to his study in an hour, he told Mia. He has a special gift for you. But in the meantime, Mr. Choi and I thought we could have a quick chat in the library. You know, about your future plans we discussed. Mia hesitated. For a brief moment, Sarah saw the girl's instincts fighting against weeks of grooming. I should stay with the guests. Father would want. Your father wants you to be happy, Mr. Choi interrupted smoothly, appearing at Dae-young's shoulder. We've been working so hard on your development, Mia. Tonight is about celebrating how far you've come. Just 20 minutes. Then you'll rejoin the party. Sarah saw it happening. Saw Mia's resistance crumbling under the weight of these trusted adults' expectations. The girl nodded and allowed herself to be guided toward the library, away from the main party. Sarah moved immediately, finding a position near the library's service entrance where she could monitor without being obvious. Inside the library, the conspirators made their final play. Hidden cameras were already recording. Kim's team had confirmed. They wanted footage of Mia in a compromising situation. Adult men in a private room with a teenage girl. Alcohol being offered, inappropriate conversation. But what they didn't know was that Kim's team had hacked their cameras. Everything they recorded was simultaneously being recorded by Kim's people, along with audio of the conspirators' real conversations when they thought Mia couldn't hear. This is it, Mrs. Park's voice came through their headphones, talking to someone on her phone outside the library. Once we have clean footage, we expose everything tonight. Kim will be arrested by morning. The organization will be in chaos. And we'll be on a plane to Thailand before New Year's. In his study, Kim listened to the woman he'd trusted to run his household, the woman he'd paid generously, given bonuses to, treated with respect, calmly discussing his destruction. Now, he said quietly. Everything happened at once. Kim emerged from his study and walked calmly down the grand staircase into the party. Guests turned, surprised to see their host appearing so publicly when he usually stayed in the background at these events. Ladies and gentlemen, Kim's voice carried through the room without him needing to shout. I apologize for the interruption, but I have something important to share tonight. Something about family, trust, and betrayal. At that moment, Young Ho and his team moved on the library. They entered with perfect precision, polite but unmistakable in their authority. Mia looked up, confused and frightened. Mr. Choi and Uncle Dae-young looked panicked. Gentlemen, Young Ho said coldly, I think you should rejoin the party. All of you. Now. Sarah appeared at Mia's side immediately, taking the girl's hand. Come with me, honey. Your father needs you. What's happening? Mia whispered, tears already forming. Did I do something wrong? Are they in trouble because of me? No, sweetheart, Sarah said firmly. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. But you need to trust me right now. Can you do that? Mia nodded, clutching Sarah's hand as they moved through the corridor toward the main room where Kim waited. The library conspirators were escorted into the party, just as Kim spoke again. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it's become a revelation. You see, some people in my home, people I trusted, have been planning to destroy my family from the inside. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Kim pressed a button on a remote, and the room's decorative screens lit up with footage. The conspirators' own recordings, their planning conversations, financial records showing embezzlement and preparation for flight. Uncle Dae-young's face went white. Mr. Choi tried to run and found his path blocked by security. Mrs. Park stood frozen, finally understanding how completely they'd been outmaneuvered. My daughter is 16 years old, Kim continued, his voice carrying emotion now real and raw. She's been alone too much. I've been absent too much. And these people saw her vulnerability as an opportunity. They groomed her, manipulated her, tried to use her as a weapon against me. Mia entered the room with Sarah, and every eye turned to her. The girl looked terrified, confused, heartbroken. Kim crossed the space between them in 3 strides and did something he hadn't done in years. He pulled his daughter into his arms and held her like she was precious. "I'm sorry," he whispered, loud enough for the room to hear. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I let you feel alone. None of this was your fault. None of it." Mia broke down, sobbing against her father's chest while the party guests watched the most powerful man in the room choose his child over his pride. Police officers entered then. Plainclothes detectives Kim had coordinated with hours earlier. They began making arrests, reading rights, handling the conspiracy with official efficiency. But in the center of the room, a father held his daughter and promised to do better. The aftermath took weeks to sort through legally, but the essential truth was established that night. Mia was a victim, the conspirators were arrested, and the Kim family's reputation was complicated but intact. What took longer was the healing. Mia spent the days after Christmas in intensive therapy, working through the manipulation she'd experienced. She was angry, hurt, and struggling to understand how adults she trusted could have betrayed her so completely. And she was angry at Kim too. Rightfully so. "You were never there," she told him during a family therapy session 2 weeks after Christmas. "Even when you were home, you weren't really there. I was so lonely, Dad. So desperate for someone to see me, to care about what I was thinking and feeling. That's why they got to me so easily." Kim listened without defending himself, without making excuses. The therapist had coached him on this. Listen, validate, take responsibility. "You're right," he said quietly. "I failed you, Mia. I told myself I was building an empire for you, creating security and legacy. But what you needed was a father. Just a dad who showed up to your recitals and asked about your day, and made you feel like you mattered more than any business deal." Mia wiped her eyes. "Can you be that person? Not the mafia boss, not the powerful businessman. Just my dad." "I'm going to try," Kim promised. "And when I fail, because I probably will sometimes, I need you to tell me. I need you to demand better from me. Deal?" "Deal," Mia whispered. It wasn't instant healing. It wasn't a perfect resolution. But it was a start. The legal proceedings moved forward steadily. Uncle Dae-young, Mr. Choi, and Mrs. Park all faced serious charges. Conspiracy, exploitation of a minor, attempted blackmail, embezzlement. Kim's lawyers were ruthlessly efficient, and Kim himself was surprisingly merciful in his demands. He wanted justice, not bloodshed. He wanted the truth public, not revenge hidden in dark alleys. It was Sarah who pointed out the change in him. 3 months after that Christmas Eve, she found Kim in the mansion's garden, sitting on a bench near the fountain that Mia used to play around as a child. "You're different," Sarah observed, sitting beside him without asking permission. Their relationship had evolved past formality into something like friendship, though neither of them had quite defined it. "I'm trying to be," Kim replied. "Mia asked me who I wanted to be. Not who my father raised me to be, not who the organization needed me to be. Who I actually wanted to be." "And," Sarah prompted, "a better man than I've been. Maybe not a good man, I don't know if that's possible given everything I've done, but better. Someone Mia can be proud of, not afraid of." Sarah smiled. "She's already proud of you. She told me last week that you've been to every single one of her therapy sessions, that you're reading the books her therapist recommends, that you actually listen when she talks now." "Small things," Kim said dismissively. "No," Sarah corrected firmly. "Everything. Those are everything." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching snow begin to fall again, the same way it had been falling that night when everything changed. "I never properly thanked you," Kim said finally. "You risked everything to protect Mia. Your job, your visa status, potentially your life. Why?" Sarah considered the question carefully. "Because it was right. Because someone had to. And because," she paused, choosing her words, "because I saw something in you that night. When I grabbed your arm and told you to be quiet, you listened. A man like you with all that power, all that rage, and you listened to a maid telling you to stop. That told me you were worth saving too." Kim turned to look at her, really look at her. Sarah met his gaze steadily, unafraid. I'm going to change things, he said. The organization, my business practices. I can't erase what I've built or what I've done, but I can shift direction. Toward legitimate businesses, away from the violence, toward something Mia won't be ashamed to inherit if she chooses. That's good, Sarah said. That's really good, Bu-Joon. The sound of his name in her voice, familiar now, almost intimate, made something shift in his chest. But he didn't examine it too closely. Not yet. Sarah, he began, then stopped. Started again. Your visa. I've spoken to immigration lawyers. We can sponsor you for permanent residency if you're interested in staying in Korea. You'd be free to pursue whatever career you want. The position I'm offering isn't a housemaid. It's head of household operations and family security liaison. Significant salary, benefits, autonomy. Sarah's eyes widened. Bu-Joon, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. You saved my family, Sarah. And more than that, Mia trusts you. She needs you. He caught himself. We need people like you around. People who tell the truth even when it's hard. People who grab a mafia boss's arm and whisper, be quiet, when he's about to make the worst mistake of his life. Sarah laughed, bright and genuine. When you put it that way, how can I refuse? Is that a yes? That's a yes. Mia appeared in the garden doorway then, bundled in a thick coat, her expression lighter than it had been in months. Dad. Sarah. It's snowing. Can we build a snowman? Like we used to when I was little. Kim looked at his daughter, then at Sarah, then back at the snow beginning to accumulate. The old Kim would have said he was too busy, had calls to make, deals to manage. The new Kim stood up and held out his hand to Mia. Let's build the biggest snowman this garden has ever seen. As they worked together, laughing and cold and alive, Sarah watched from the bench. She thought about that December night, about the whisper that changed everything, about the courage it took to grab a dangerous man's arm and demand he choose differently. Be quiet had meant more than silence. It had meant, pause, listen, think, choose the harder right over the easier wrong. It had meant, your daughter needs a father, not an avenger. It had meant, be the man you're capable of being, not the monster circumstance tried to create. And somehow miraculously Kim had listened. The snowman grew taller. Mia's laughter rang out through the garden. And in the windows of the mansion, staff members smiled at the sight of their employer being present, being human, being enough. Redemption wasn't a single moment. It was this. Snow in your hair, your daughter's hand in yours, and the knowledge that you'd chosen right when it mattered most. If this story moved you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes redemption is possible. Drop a comment below. Who was the real hero of this story? Kim for changing, Mia for surviving, or Sarah for having the courage to say, be quiet?